Do you remember first experiencing or reading Tolkien's work, and how did it make you feel?
He has a very specific moment. I don't. I just know the time period. I was probably in elementary school, so maybe around like 12, 14 years old. And I remember reading his stories and going, wait, this is how I imagined the countryside in England growing up, with magic and fairies and elves. And I loved Peter Jackson's films, so whenever I would see a trailer for those, I would get so excited and would plan out when they were coming out. So I very much was a fan of Tolkien's work.
I was lucky. I got introduced to it by the directors of About a Boy. Who gave me a copy of The Hobbit, so I read that then and loved it and was completely transported by it. But then realised when I got sent the script for this that I knew nothing about the man behind that. So it was wonderful to learn about him.
And like, what fans of Tolkien think of him in the pub with C.S. Lewis. What do you think fans might learn about him from this movie that they might not already know?
Well, that part of his life, the Inklings element of him, in the pub with C.S. Lewis, was kind of later on from what our story focuses on. This focuses on when he's a young boy, played by Harry Gilby, and losing his mother, becoming an orphan, and then getting put into kind of a foster care, meeting the love of his life, Edith Bratt, and then making these new friendships, which kind of forged and inspired him, and also his World War I experiences, that then, took those friendships away from him and how he dealt with that.
And it's such a lovely love story as well. I don't think a lot of people know about him and his wife and Edith and stuff.
Yeah, I think Edith was a really inspiring woman of her time, and due to the fact that she was a woman during that time, an orphan herself, she didn't have as many prospects within what she was capable of doing for a living and whatnot. And I think had she been born into a different generation, she would have been at the forefront of speaking out and being a really, really powerful woman. But she was able to do that with Tolkien and inspiring him to continue on with his love of language and creating stories. And ultimately she became quite a muse for him with his characters. So I loved playing this woman who was a real force to be reckoned with.
And I read that you've two known each other for quite a while now. How much does that help coming to a project like this? Or does it help?
No, it does. I mean, we had met about, 7 or 8 years ago through a mutual friend, and then kind of seen each other around socially, existing in similar circles, but had never spent actual quality time together. But it was interesting because when Edith and Tolkien meet, they have this immediate history, but they don't, because they're just meeting for the first time. There's just kind of this quality of knowing someone but not really knowing them that well, and then they build their relationship. And it was really nice to kind of have a little bit of history, going into it feeling comfortable, but then being willing to kind of explore and see where their relationship would go, and just having kind of an open communication. We weren't at least strangers.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Did you find it helped you, Nicholas?
Yeah, completely. Also, I mean, it's just lovely when we got a little bit of time to rehearse and hang out in Liverpool before we started shooting. So it was just nice to talk about the elements of their relationship that we were intrigued by, and the fun that we could bring to it. And Lily's a wonderful actress, so it makes it very easy.
And this is all what inspired Tolkien as well, like his mother, World War I, and his friends. What has inspired you for your careers as actors?
What's inspired me through my... other great performances, other actors, music that you listen to,
music,
great scores. The score of
Travel.
this is inspiring to listen to. Travel, great books, friends.
The people that I surround myself with are always characters in themselves, so I feel like they always bring out different sides of me, and I hope that I do the same for them. And all the memories and experiences we have together, the more I've grown up, the more I just say yes to experiences, because I think the more experiences you have, the more you have to draw from for life, for characters, for whatnot. So just kind of finding that inspiration in the mundane, which again is very much what Tolkien and Edith did. So I felt connected to them in that way, because it's something that I very much try to do on a daily basis.
And what would you say your overriding memory from set was? I was thinking in the trenches looked a bit cold.
Physically, in terms of the elements, the trenches is certainly ingrained in my memory, and plus, just everything that was happening there. But I would say our scene in the Grand Cafe was one that we got to shoot over a couple of days and spend real time with. It was so important for developing this relationship in the film, and Dome really dedicated time to that. So that was one that I really enjoyed exploring.
What about you?
That scene in particular, but also the opera scene when they're playing around with the props and just having fun. I think one of the things I'll remember about just the experience of it, which mirrored their relationship, is that we got to be silly and not always so poised and put together, which I think a lot of people assume of that period or of a period piece in general, that it would just be all quite stern. And it wasn't at all. That their love was very childlike in a sense, and we got to really be silly and play around and make fun of each other. And I don't know, it created a really playful energy on set, which I think was very true to the relationship that they had.